and to work through to set up his kingdom. This is what we see happening all the way through the Hebrew Scriptures. But yeah, you're right. You've noticed that it's Elohim, 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 and then Yahweh Elohim, to make sure you understand that this is...
And it's just kind of funny to me because we're talking about justice and God, and all my life even, I've been just somehow in the back of my head that God's totally perfect. He wouldn't have to rest because, God doesn't get tired. You know what I mean? But then the very first thing he does is he creates man in his own image, and he goes, that's not really good.
Why? Because and I think this is why we misunderstand it from an ancient Near Eastern perspective. We're reading it from Westerners. I want to make this point. I'm glad you're bringing this up because when we come to the Scriptures, we are so far removed. We are removed by time. We are removed by culture. We are removed by language. We have all these different removes. And to put it in the way others have put it, we are reading somebody else's mail. Let me say it this way. The Bible wasn't written to us. It was written for us, but it wasn't written to us. It was written to Israel, who is an ancient Near Eastern Semitic peoples, who didn't think about the world the way you and I think about the world. And when God communicated to them, he didn't try to straighten out all of their views of the world and how they viewed life and how they viewed everything. He went with it. He used the way they thought. For instance, I'll come back to your question in a second. If I went to Africa and said, we're going to have daylight savings times, they would go, What? You're going to move the clock back an hour? You can't move time. Time is a constant that keeps going straight. Nobody can daylight, I get daylight savings, okay, I take something and hold it. Time, how am I going to change time? That's not a concept they have. They just don't even have the concept that you can move the clock forward and backward an hour or more. That would be like in their mind. They'd be like, really? That's just, you can't do this.
It is to most of us too.
It is to most of us too. Yeah, we're kind of going, how do you move time?
It hurts so bad when you wake up too.
Yeah, so and I said this earlier. I used the example earlier. As soon as I say, with just three numbers, 9, 11. I say 9, 11, and instantly you have a bunch of things that come to your mind. With just that, it's freighted with all kinds of imagery and all kinds of
emotions,
thoughts. As soon as I say 9, 11. Now what if there are phrases and clauses and things in our scripture that are really like 9/11, where it's got all this freighted baggage and weight to it. We just read 9/11 and go, oh, well, that's September 11th. To anybody else in the world, September 11th was just 2001 was just another day. But for Americans, a lot of things changed, and we have a lot of freight with this. A lot of things in our history that just come rolling out of that you have to unpack. So when we get to the scriptures, it's written for us, but not to us. That's key. That's key. I will come back. Now, here's my point. They did not think of the world the way we think of the world. They had different views of the world. And God didn't try to straighten them out, so to speak, and say to them, I'm going to make you understand everything the way I do before I will talk to you. He talked to them where they were, using where they were in their understanding, and worked his truth through it. It's brilliant. Because if you try to correct everything that they already think, that's already part of their matrix, you're going to spend all your time doing that. I'm telling you, as one who's traveled to other countries, if you go to another country and you try to correct everything that they believe, whether it's right or wrong, you're going to spend all your time doing that. Don't worry about it. I can speak the truth because you know what? Truth that God is trying to reveal to us is about relationship. It's about wanting communion with us, wanting to be with us, and all the other stuff, peripheral, marginal. Hold on. Yes, go ahead.
The thing about God resting,
Yes.
if someone could put a scriptural reference to this, that'd be good. It was years ago. Sitting up, I used to go to the mountains all the time, sit up in the mountains, and just glorying in creation. And at that point in time, I was pretty bummed out about all the destruction that our culture does, and concerned about the environment, and thinking it's just really sad. And I was wanting to just go live in the mountains. And God, what He spoke to me at that moment in time was, Maurice, you can never love creation the way I have loved it. It is my creation. Go back to the city. It's about the people. And it was like a neuro voice moment. God, and the thing is that if God created the universe, and I don't know if an artist is not emotionally attached to what they create, and if God rested, I can say reason for God rested after creating the whole universe.
Right. G.K. Chesterton says that maybe the creation was something like this, and he's a poet, so he's saying, God said, "Let there be a flower," and there was a lily, and something inside of God said, "Do it again, do it again," and so He made another flower, and something inside of God said, "Do it again, do it again," and then there were thousands of flowers, and after 1 billion flowers, something inside of God, Vaying Nefesh, He was enlightened. He said, something inside of Him said, "Do it again! Do it again!" It's relational.
Right.
It's relational. Where you're overwhelmed by the power and the awesomeness of who God is. Every now and then you get those moments. I had one of those moments where, like you're talking about, where I went to the Canadian side. I don't know if any of you have been there. The Canadian side there's a New York side and a Canadian side of Niagara Falls. And it's huge. I mean, as far as your eye can see is a waterfall. And you get right up to it, and it's thunderous. And you're watching this water fall hundreds and hundreds of feet. And it sounds like a train. I mean, it sounds like a jet engine. It's not a jet engine, it's just water falling. And you realize how vast and how expansive the universe is. We only worry about this little, where we're standing. We worry about our little area. We worry about maybe Gig Harbor and getting from point A to point B, and maybe we go down to Portland, and maybe we'll fly across the U.S., and God is going, that's nothing. I worry about stars. They're telling us now that we can't even call Pluto a planet because there's actually 350 plus planets equal size to it in front of it.
Wow.
And they said it would mess up school children to try to give 350 names to all these. We have no idea how big the universe is. And God says, every day I deal with that. I deal with all this stuff every day. You have to deal with it. So back to your question though, I want to end with this. See, when we talk about rest to us means I'm laying down. I'm just sitting, I'm chilling. I'm taking it easy. Rest in the ancient Near East meant a king coming to reside in the temple. That he's taking up residence, his throne. It's not God saying, because everything is in order and everything's functioning the way it's supposed to. And when he says he was by Nefesh, he was enlightened, and then it says, so he rested, Shabbat. What was the other word? Good. What does it mean when it was good? It means everything is in order. Everything is functioning and doing what it's supposed to do. Not good, not as opposed to bad, but good in the sense of functioning the way it's supposed to. Everything is now going to function the way it's supposed to. Here again, we're created in the image of God. What does that mean? Again, if I'm thinking about temple, and God resting in a temple, reigning in a temple. If I have the image of God, it's again function. That a king sets up an image of himself inside a temple. every king or god set up an image of themselves inside their temple, except for Israel. Israel says that you and I will be temples, and we will carry the image of God with us. We'll take it out here. Instead of being concentric, it will be go this direction. But everybody in the ancient Near East understood, if you go to a temple, the one thing you're going to see in a temple, there will be an image of the God there. That's the idea of God having an image. Okay? So he says, you be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. I want you to take my image everywhere. Okay? But this is, again, purpose, mission, and the idea of temple. No wonder Paul could say, you are the temple of God. He got it straight from the understanding of Genesis that this is temple imagery. This is God residing with us. And that his presence is with us, and that we take the presence of God with us wherever we go. Because we're created to be image bearers. This is our function. This is what we do. If we're being obedient to this God that we image. But see, this is all coming from ancient Near Eastern ways of thinking, not English words, not Western thought. So much of our thinking, so much of our views, so much of how we view the Scripture is driven by our culture and by how we think as Westerners. And we have to get into the mindset of the people that were first hearing it, to be there with them, listening to it on their terms, in their language, as they understood it. That's tough, because we're so far removed. And when we hear, for instance, we hear curses, think in terms of consequences for failure. It's a consequence for failure to obey. Blessing, curses. This is what will happen if things go right. This is what will happen if things go wrong. Questions, comments?
I had one.
Okay.
When you were talking about the flowers and all the billions and billions of flowers, every now and again, one of my children will disappoint me one way or the other. And it hurts as a dad. But then I reflect on the fact that how many children of God are there and how many of them disappoint him every single day, how much that must grieve him. Just on the micro level, but on the macro level, it's phenomenal how many years, thousands and thousands of years, yet he still has mercy for us.
Right, and the millions that he must shake his head at and say, if only they would do my will, they would find peace, they would find ease, they would find things going so much simpler, so much easier for themselves. But it's, they'd rather go the hard way, they'd rather go the difficult path. And in the end, this difficult path destroys them. They don't even realize that the path they're taking, because here's the truth. If you're not walking the path that God has designed for everyone to walk, in obedience to him, you're walking a path that will ultimately lead to death. Now, again, I'm realizing that we're all heading towards death anyway. But how many people?
But one death.
Yeah, but one death. But how many people have hastened their own death by the choices they made that destroyed them? That I told you, I was in Alaska 2 weeks ago. I'm 49, she was 43. So I knew her mom, her dad, knew her sister. Her sister was in my class. And she started alcohol, drugs. By the time she had let all this stuff take over her body, she wasn't even recognizable. Couldn't even recognize her. We have people all the time that destroy themselves by the path that they choose to take. And they kill themselves. They destroy themselves. In the search for, of all things, you know what they say they're searching for? Peace. They want peace, they say. I want order in my life. How many children of the 60s did I mean, that was the symbol, the peace symbol was the thing of the 60s. They wanted peace.
Do you get it?
Did they get it?
You got a piece of this, a piece of that.
Of course.